fear is one of the, I think, one of the least understood and most positive of human experiences. And let me give you an example. That if you think about the popularity of horror films, I mean, people love horror films. I'm actually not a big horror film fan, but I think because I have difficulty controlling the degree to which I become empathetic, even in a highly stylized film, and then I get too hugely invested and too traumatized by the horror that you often get in a horror film, and my recovery is too long afterwards, so I tend to go for romantic comedies instead. But anyway, the horror film, why do people go to them? And it's for the fear that they experience, you know, both virtually and actually in the audience. You know, it's the identification, empathy, and transference that takes place. And you'd say, well, why do they want that? Why do they want to experience the fear of someone who's about to be, you know, hacked up with a chainsaw or axe or whatever it is the case might be? Or why is it they want to experience supernatural forces that are working in the interest of their destruction and torture? Well, the reason is it's not for the actual, I think anyway, the reason is it's not for the actual experience of the sort of the virtual experience, but rather it's for the aftermath. It's for when the fear subsides, it usually becomes a vanishing mediation for a social bonding experience that people have. So people go to the theater together in groups to see horror, so that the experience of the horror can vanish, mediate in a kind of transduction, and then from that transduction becomes a stronger social relation. So I think it's the bonding that people experience through fear that most compels them to pursue it. For instance, if you want to become closer to somebody that you go out with on a date, I'd recommend going to a horror film or going to an amusement park and riding on a roller coaster, or doing anything that involves a certain degree of fear-driven visceral electritude, as long as you're not the source of the fear, right? That's really important. So that when you're there, that they're seeing you as a source of comfort. And together, you're in it together. So when the fear dissipates and the oxytocin gets released, as the adrenaline goes down, right? And that you're there together. And what happens is you imprint on the person or people next to you that work, at least however imaginatively, in the interest of the alleviation of the fear. So you come to associate them actually with comfort and security and stability vis-a-vis fear that one might experience. I think something interesting about the story that you just told about your grandfather was the pause. The moment of bonding, I think, that occurred when the two soldiers looked at each other, realizing that both their lives were on the line, but neither wanted to kill the other one in the moment, but felt a necessity in doing so. So I believe, but I'm just imagining this, that there is potentially a really intense moment of social bonding that occurred, and that I'd like to think that the one soldier actually gave over his life to the other one, like took the pause a little bit too long to allow the other one to kill him. And I see that as more of a moment of self-sacrifice in this case, you know. But, you know, I'm just mapping on a story by which to make sense of what you told me in a way that is positive, rather than the first person to draw one, you know. Like, it didn't sound like that to me. I think, for the most part, that most experiences people have are driven by positive feelings. And I don't say that just in the interest of not defining things through negation, or through a kind of exclusionary logic, by people understand who they are by what they're not, and often at the expense of others. Because I think that's I think it's unfortunate that a lot of social discourse has moved in that direction. I think that comes from an idea of the idea that both desire and subjectivity are based on lack. That we only know who we are by what we're not is a kind of compensatory logic for filling in what it is that we imagine ourselves to be lacking through the sort of differential between us and somebody else that we assert. because I don't really think that's the case. I think that differences between people can be positively understood. I think that in every story we can, despite the potentially really horrible things that have happened, there's a way in which we can understand those experiences is becoming vanishing mediation. A means by which one thing disappears and another thing emerges that's positive, and a way by which we expand our subjective territory and grow. I don't mean to sound really too touchy-feely on this, but I just think that it's a choice that we make. We either can say that the glass is because it is, or it is because it's not the vase or the table. And I think that it's not just a matter of convenience, but it's one of positive differentiation, where the understanding and respective difference becomes the common ground, and not by understanding